Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining the Column EDC Coffee Chat, Coffee with Colleen. We are really happy to have Mark Schwartz on today with Bigfoot Enterprises to talk to you, everyone, share about the work he's been doing to create a film and all about the creators of the Bigfoot legend. Um, Mark joined us a few weeks ago, and we just thought it was really interesting and wanted to give him an opportunity to share with more people. So I will go ahead and have him take over the screen here in just a moment. But first, a few housekeeping items. If you will please keep yourself on mute so we don't inadvertently hear background noises. If you want to ask any questions of Mark, we do like this to be interactive. So either put your questions in the chat or feel free to raise your hand and I'll call on you. So with that, Mark, please, first of all, thank you so much for joining us, but go ahead and take it away.
Okay, well, thank you, Colleen, for having me here and hosting me with Coffee with Colleen. It's pretty exciting. A little bit about me. I'm have come to Clallam County almost 4 years ago from Southern California, and I'm a filmmaker and an educator. And I've been teaching a bit, film classes at the college up in Port Angeles. And I'm also writing and, pitching my screenplays. But along the way, I couldn't help but notice I was driving around Clallam County that there is a theme here, that this concurrent theme that's going on all over town, which is I see the Bigfoot imagery and I see the names of businesses in homage to Sasquatch or Bigfoot or posters or cups. And for me, it sort of rang a bell because I was invited into a project about 12 years ago by my buddy, longtime collaborator in Los Angeles, Eric Fulford, who's actually on the Zoom here. He pitched me an idea for a film that he'd always envisioned since he was a kid, and he would see the Bigfoot stuff of what was the story of those guys that filmed that famous iconic footage. And he introduced me to their adventures, and I thought, well, this is a fun movie. This would be a great movie. So we developed it, and we came about this close to getting it produced at Discovery Networks as a limited series, just before they decided to not do scripted content and stay with their documentary, nonfiction content. So we kind of put it back in the back burner. But when I found myself here, I kept sending pictures to Eric. Oh, look at what's happening. It's all over the place. This county's obsessed with Bigfoot. And then I just thought, okay, why don't we take that project, dust it off, and actually write a full screenplay and try and get it made. So that's what I did last year and wrote the screenplay, had fun with another colleague in LA who was a third member of our team, Mark Yellen. We wrote it. And so then I heard about a film incentive that Washington State offers. There's an agency called Washington Filmworks that tries to either bring film projects into the state of California. I mean, state of Washington.
Washington? Yeah.
Excuse me. Oh my God. That's a faux pas if there ever was one.
And you can't cut that out.
No, that's in.
We put the full thing out there.
Permanently embedded. Cursed. So, and to develop and nurture Washington projects and filmmakers here. So, I heard about that project, that program is called Washington State Small Budget Production Incentive. Essentially, they finance the first 30% of your project. Went through the application process with the Bigfoot Enterprise Project and was awarded the incentive. And so that was kind of like, okay, the game's on. We're going to go make this thing right here in Clallam County. So now we have this little window to actually put the rest of the financing together and get the project off the ground this year. So on that note, I will get the ball rolling with a little video that we did to launch what is our crowdfunding. Part of the fundraising we're doing is through a crowdfunding campaign through an online portal called Seed and Spark. And this is a video that kind of launches the Seed and Spark campaign that sort of brings people into the story. And it's a great way to kind of open up the conversation. So I'll share that.
They're gonna put me in the movies.
You know this shot.
They're gonna
You've
make
seen
a
it
big
100
star
times.
out of me.
Bigfoot.
We'll make a film about
But what you don't know is the circus behind the camera. An unlikely team of misfits turned that blurry monster into a media empire. It all started with Roger Patterson, a broke rodeo clown with a film camera. All charm, no plan. His cowboy sidekick, Bob Gimlin, is a straight shooter, skeptic, the original horse whisperer. And me, Barbara Palmieri, Hollywood publicist. No time for nonsense. We hit the road, and America ate it up.
There's something happening here.
People will believe anything if you say it with confidence in a film projector.
Ain't exactly clear.
But fame has a price. The skeptics came, so did the lawsuits, and the polygraphs. Turns out, chasing a legend is easy, but living with one, not so much. I don't know if it was real or if it was fake, but I'm not here to judge. I'm here to get this film made. Let me tell you about our director, Eric Fulford. He made his career digging up dusty reels of American storytelling. From the punk legend skate myth of Day at the Pool to the surreal Hollywood spiral of the Platinum Loop. This guy's got a thing for stories where truth and fiction and ambition all share a drink. Think American Hustle, add a shot of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and a twist of Bush and Sundance. Now, let's make a movie and a little bit of history together.
We'll make the scene about a man that's sad and lonely and begging down upon his bended knee.
Okay, so you get the general idea.
That was fun.
Fun is the operative word, Callie.
That is fun.
That's what struck me about the story. Like, this could be fun in the vein of some movies that I really love. So, so I have a little kind of a presentation that I'll walk you through. Some is a little repetitive of what we just saw in the video, but it'll kind of elaborate on that and talk about some other aspects of the project as we're planning to do it here. So let's go to that.
By the way, Mark, while you're pulling that up, I love the stories behind the stories, you know, the things that you get. Like I love those kinds of documentaries or movies that are sort of, what do you refer to them as? They're kind of a documentary, but they're also got enough fiction to make them fun, and it's good.
Yeah.
Those
Well,
are
me
good.
too. I mean, that's kind of why I got into this, because I have a penchant for what I'll call historical fiction.
Yeah,
Take
historical
a
fiction.
fact and we kind of dress it up and give it some story juice and bring
Yeah,
it to life. And I've done that with a number of different eras.
yeah.
Um,
Once upon a time in Hollywood, great, funny.
yeah.
Like,
And this is that era, right? That's
yeah,
that era. That's part of what attracted me to it. It's like, oh, this is a fun late 60s period piece that kind of takes it from a whole new angle. Um,
very
we go
cool.
to Hollywood in this one, but we do it with a couple of cowpokes from Yakima, which is they're kind of the center of the story. They're the Butch and Sundance of this story. These guys did
I love the Tru-ish adventures.
it. That's right. That gives us a little leadway. That's our disclaimer.
It's great.
So this is kind of the poster image. Let's see, I'll get the cursor out of there and walk through it. Let's get the cursor in here. All right, we have a thing in the film world called logline, which is sort of your one sentence that you put out there that's going to basically get people interested in the whole film and hearing more about the film or watching it. So, if, for instance, it resembles what you see at the end of the day when you see your film coming up on your flow on Netflix or Prime or anything, you see one line there. Oh, do I want to watch this or not? So it's sort of starting your project with that. So in this one, we've got 1967, a charismatic entrepreneur, Roger Patterson, and his stoic cowboy friend, Bob Gimlin, capture what appears to be footage of Bigfoot launching a media firestorm, a cross-country hustle, and a battle between belief and betrayal. So I'll go through a little bit of the story as we go into this a little bit, kind of some of the basic structure of the story.
So, Mark, what does
Yeah.
log line mean?
I don't know where that term originated. That's an interesting question, but that's just the universal term for tell me about your project,
Okay,
but do it in one sentence in a
got
way
it.
that it's kind of it's your calling card for your project.
Okay, okay,
What's the log line? What's the log? And
okay.
you kind of it's like a Zen koan. You have to craft it in a way that every word has an impact. You only have one
Mhm,
sentence. And so you
mhm.
have to kind of tell the essence of the story. Who's our protagonist? What's the world in which and what kind of battle's happening? And give it a little extra sauce and they get people in the door.
Got it.
So we saw a little bit of this in the little show reel. It shows what kind of film it is. These are a reference tonally. You heard about these characters, Roger, Bob, and Barbara. So just to let you know, we've already cast these three parts out of actors out of the Seattle area. Went through a whole casting round for this. And we got some great local talent. And the idea, the whole essence of this is to produce the film entirely, almost entirely with Washington-based people and businesses and resources. Okay, this is a little collage of the various worlds because this story goes through a lot of different environments and worlds, which is one of the challenges of trying to make it on an ultra low budget. But in very broad strokes, it starts with Roger and Bob in Yakima, Washington. Well, it actually starts with a polygraph being taken of these guys in the offices of Life magazine in New York City. They needed to do the polygraph. That becomes sort of a through line for the story. We sort of weave in and out of that. We tell the story through these questions that happen in the polygraph examination. We go back and tell the story of their friendship, their journey, how the Bigfoot mission came to Roger, how we recruited Bob, how they had to kind of scam a camera and some resources to go on the journey, had the film, and then they launched into this kind of roadshow. Then they hooked up with Barbara Palmieri to produce the roadshow and promote it, and then they went across the Western United States to massive crowds. And then there was a lot of skeptics that came through that were calling them out and critiquing them. So then they kind of split up the friendship. A lot of this is about their core friendship and sort of what are the limits, what's the strengths, what's the limits of their friendship. And ultimately, they have to go back to New York at the end of the story and prove to Life magazine that this is for real, to be put on the cover of Life magazine. And I won't tell you what happens because we'll leave that. It's a little bit of a cliffhanger. That's a general landscape. So you see a lot of different worlds, both in rural, urban, across the country. How are we going to do this for our minimal budget? Oh, here's a little bit on myself and Eric. You saw some clips of Eric's movies, and this is a bit on me, some script that I produced years ago, and a script that I have in development on the Spanish Inquisition, part of my historical fiction obsession. Okay. This particular presentation is oriented towards the sort of cultivating support and investment to make the project come alive. So these are reference for other successful films that have been made this decade for under 500,000. And the kind of revenue that they generated at the box office, which indicates what would happen, what they'd get from streaming revenues, which we don't know, but we were considering that would exceed whatever the broadcast is, whatever the box office is, because that's generally what happens. But these are some movies that have done pretty well and produced for a low budget. Here's a landscape. Here's a picture of our budget. It maxes out at 300,000, which is the Screen Actors Guild. They have a ultra low budget contract where we can have the fees for the actors be capped at a certain level, but the budget has to stay within 300,000. 95% of it is earmarked to spend in Washington State. I'll explain more about that in the when I talk about the Washington Filmworks incentive that we have, that essentially they return 30% of what is spent in the state, so everything is directed towards here. And beyond that, we're trying to focus on spending as much of that money here in Clallam County. That would be personnel, people, locations, catering, hotel, various support services, kind of across the board. It would be 25 to 35% of our budget would ideally be spent here.
So question about that, Mark. I'm curious about that 5% that you have to get from outside of the state. Is that like legal, or, that's just not offered in Washington?
Yes, for things that can't be offered in Washington, it would be, there's a payroll service that has a contract with the Screen Actors Guild. That's what we need to use. There's a whole kind of compositing thing. I'll show you a little bit of what we're planning on doing with some unique, innovative technology production, and some of that service would need to come from outside the state as well.
Okay, so, and then what pieces are you thinking would actually occur in Clallam? Well, and is it that like the cast and crew don't live? I mean, people don't have those skill sets here in Clallam County?
We would try to find people in Clallam County that have those skill sets, but we would certainly have a bunch of people come from the wider Washington area and have them come out here for the part of the shoot that happens in natural locations, which we would do here. So ideally, we're having people who can fill whatever roles possible. Some of these are very specialized trades, and not only behind the camera but in front of the camera. But there should be an array of positions that could be available for people that aren't that trained, as well as we have people in the county who have some of these trainings as well, especially some of the cast. And I know some of the crew. Some of it is construction as well. Some of it is driving and construction. We also hopefully will have some student interns drawn from the college here, Peninsula College, as well as Shoreline College, who will be working on the film for credit. So it's a bit of a workforce development thing as well.
I have a question, Colleen. Is it possible that either county or EDC or city could do an LTAC allocation because of it possibly bringing
heads and
beds here, like for a premiere to happen at Field Hall, for example?
That's interesting. So it would have to be a nonprofit that would apply for that. I know Mark Abshire is much more knowledgeable about the rules and eligibility for LTAC funds. But it's potentially, I think it's something we should talk about and look into. Yeah.
It's worth pulling on the thread. See.
Yeah.
Because not all the receivers of not everybody that receives LTAC is nonprofit. Like I know some of the firms that have been hired to do marketing for tourism here
Right.
are for profit. So
Right. They hire, so I think it's usually though a nonprofit hires a consultant to do some work.
I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
like the chamber or something like
Hmm.
that. Yeah, I see.
Right, right. Hmm. Yeah, I see Beth's comment here in the chat, says
Yeah.
there are defined windows of application about might fit, and then Field Hall is a nonprofit and could apply for a premiere. The nonprofits are hiring uh, for-profit businesses with the monies. Yep,
That's great feedback. Can't hurt to
great.
try.
Thanks, Beth. Yeah, Beth would know too.
It's great.
And of course, the idea of the notion of having a grand premiere at Field Hall is hopefully going to be a nice little payoff at the end of the road next year.
Yeah,
I
I mean
just met,
that's the idea is bring things home.
yes, bring things home and
Yeah.
have it be a community celebration as well. And hopefully kind of, you know, christen the area as a filmmaking, as a place to make films or
Hmm.
the where
Yeah.
film, visit where films were made. That's part of a little offshoot is the idea that as we go around doing our locations and searching for locations and creating a photographic database, that could be a foundational element for a Clallam County Film Office, which many towns and areas and states, it's a little mini division of what the state has. And the idea is you have a database of locations and services here that will entice people shooting films or footage for films to come to the area to film. And I think we have some incredible resources here to share that people would want to come shoot here.
Hmm.
So that's a little bit of just kind of a side thing, that it could be a launching pad, let's say, for something that's been kind of proposed before, having a Clallam County film office. And I know the Washington Filmworks would support that as well. They would love to see that happen and do whatever they could to enable that.
That's great.
Let's move on. Let's see. Okay, so this is the secret sauce for how we're going to produce this very ambitious film on what really, I know it sounds like a lot of money, but it's in terms of actual production of a film, it's a very modest budget at 300,000. So secret sauce is utilizing AI and this AI assisted workflow where it's now just the timing is kind of impeccable for AI created video is actually of the quality level that it can pass, it can create the environments. Some of these environments like New York City in the 60s or a big crowd of people waiting outside of a auditorium in the 60s, where we put our actors, our live dramatic actors that we shoot in a stage, and we composite them with these environments. We integrate them with these environments. And hopefully that's going to give us the kind of bang to tell a story of this scope on this very minimum budget.
Yeah, I can't imagine us. I wondered when I saw your budget, like how could you possibly do all the places? But that makes perfect sense. I like that.
This is
Smart
it.
use.
And as I'll show later, a little bit later, we have an AI video partner that we've already kind of established a relationship with and we're working with to develop these skills for this purpose and for this film. And I'll kind of elaborate on that a little bit down the road. Okay, so one of the reasons that I was drawn to this, not only would I want to see the film, but I became aware that there is this enormous Bigfoot audience, as I witnessed up here, moving to Clallam County. And then I realized, as you kind of like crack into it, it's all over the world. There's podcasts, there's Facebook pages and Instagram and YouTube that is literally millions of people. So it made me also what encouraged me to kind of step into this film thinking, well, this could go, this could fly. It's got a built-in audience, which is something you look for, let's say, when you're producing something, any kind of product. Little note on how it generally works to go distribute a film. We've got it done. We've got it done next year. First path is you take it to festivals, South by Southwest or Sundance. You hope to get some interest and some heat, and then a big distributor comes and give you a fat check, and then they take it out globally. That's one possibility. That's nice. That would be nice. In the event that doesn't happen, that's a pretty rare occurrence. Only a few films are picked up on that level every year. You get into a self-distribution path, paradigm, where you have the option of distributing it through all these new, streaming outlets, where it's become kind of a new era for self-distributing your films through these outlets and sort of circumnavigating around the entire film distribution business and going directly to the consumer. The other way to go directly to the consumer, or the viewer in this case, is a to-for wallet, which is essentially, coincidentally, that's what those guys did in the 60s. They were sort of the godfathers, the godparents of taking your film from town to town, renting a hall and selling tickets and putting on a roadshow like that. So in keeping with the story, like that's something that some filmmakers did just this last month, and had tremendous success four-walling their horror movie to 1,000 theaters. I feel like Bigfoot is made for that because there's an audience all over the place, and we could create a little kind of a road show around the showing of the movie about the road show. Let's see. Okay. And our marketing strategy, which is in keeping with what I've been talking about, is sort of first phase is ignite the Bigfoot ecosystem, which is accessible through all these social medias and podcasts. We've already had Eric, the director, on 3 different Bigfoot podcasts, and we're sort of spinning those wheels already, and then expand out to, the general population, a wider cultural conversation through, film outlets, tech outlets, because hopefully if we pull this off using this cutting edge technology, that's going to be a story that people are going to want to hear about as well. Okay, in general, this is a portrait of the investment structure and revenue scenario. Will be a Washington State LLC with units sold at 10,000 each. That would come up to the 30 units for a 300,000 budget. At the 50,000 investment level, an executive producer credit is awarded to whoever puts together that level of investment. On the recoupment side, we need to take a little slice of the first 10,000 that comes in to feed and nurture the marketing plan, and then all the revenue is recouped, all the investment revenue is recouped. We're anticipating having some deferred fees to pull this off, and then it's a split between the filmmakers and the investors. There's no way to know what kind of return on investment it's going to be, but we feel that it could be strong, 100 to 200% over 5 years, with even greater potential if it becomes a breakout success. We'll call it a conservative projection. These are our partners so far. Washington Filmworks, as I've alluded to, has their small budget production incentive. We were awarded that for this year. How it works is we need to raise the budget and show them a bank account that has 300,000 in it, and then they unlock the funds, which they have allocated to us, and they unlock those funds. They say, okay, you're on, but then we need to give them a report of where was the money spent, how was the money was spent in Washington State with qualified residents and people with business licenses. Then they will return 30% of that spend to the production. If we raise the entire budget, then the bulk of that 30% can go back to the investors, essentially, as a first 25% recoupment of their investment. If we don't raise the 300, we get to, let's say, a 200 point, we're going to have to essentially borrow against these funds and then pay that back. So hopefully we'll get all the way and be able to get investors back, 20-25% of their investment right out of the gate, reducing the risk. Right out of the gate, it's like 6 months after we shoot the film. Hypernatural AI is our AI partner. We've been working with them, and we're kind of helping develop their tool as well. We're kind of a beta tester. So we have unlimited credits to use their tool to essentially pre-visualize the entire film and work out all the kinks, and ideally use that pre-visualized backgrounds for what we're going to composite with our actors when we shoot the film. And then Ballast is Eric's company where he does visual effects, and he has, you know, an incredible array of work and super high-end clients that he's created specifically done this type of visual effects for, I don't know, decades. That's Ballast TV. Timeline and key dates. So right now, we're putting it together. The pre-visualization, as I just mentioned, the pre-production being the casting. I met yesterday with our director of photography, and the fundraising, evidently. June, the month of June, is going to be our Seed and Spark crowdfund campaign. We're targeting $25,000 there, which is our cast budget, which is just the funds to pay the cast. And I'll send some more links and info on that as we go along. By September, we have to have that money in the bank, the whole budget, to unlock to confirm and unlock the Washington State incentive. And then we start filming, and we shoot the outdoor material the first couple weeks of October, and then we go into a studio for the third and fourth week, hopefully, of October. Spend the winter putting it all together, putting the effects, the score, all the sound effects, color correction, etc., and then we start putting it out to festivals and distribution in the spring of 27. Okay, here's a little note on why now is a good time to invest in independent film, and especially this one. Well, first we have the streamers who are, you know, kind of picking up an unprecedented amount of content, and they're in a competitive universe. So we feel like they're spending billions on acquisitions, and it creates an unprecedented demand for independent films. The production costs have come down, particularly integrating with this AI technology, the latest wave of a way to sort of make a film like this, an independent film that has such a wide scope with a very minimal amount of money. We've got the incentive from Washington State, 30%, immediate rebate. And in film investment, unlike a passive investment, you're involved, right? It's a tangible thing. You come to the set, read the script, come to the screenings, and who knows, beyond. Go to the festivals. And this is just as a final note, our true advantages, as we know here, that in Clallam County, Bigfoot's not a trend. It's a multi-generational mythology with a built-in audience that will go on forever. And I believe that, here we go on our last page here, is my contact, Eric's contact, and a QR code, which you could take a picture of, which leads to our website, Bigfoot Enterprises Movie, which I'm going to go to the website in a minute too, show you that.
Well, it'll go on forever until someone catches a real Bigfoot.
Yeah, that'll be the sequel now.
Yeah.
Going to take it to some other front. Okay, so I want to just go quickly to the website to show that. Chrome.
That'll probably be about the time they find the Loch Ness monster as well.
Yeah, right.
I heard they were eloping somewhere,
but look how many people flock to Scotland to that particular lake just to
Loch Ness. Yeah,
I'm glad you point that up, Mac, because that's also another fringe benefit in that if the film gets out there and gets seen and gets this kind of wide audience that it has the potential for, they'll be in the way that the Twilight movies, may put Forks on the map, that it would really, I think, develop an audience for Clallam County, to people to come visit out here, not just to film out here, but just to visit, see what it's all about. go to the place, the mythical location. Here's our site, Bigfoot Enterprises movie, and this links to our Seed and Spark. There's a contact thing on here. There's our Facebook and our Instagram pages, which we're stirring up, and our Seed and Spark campaign, which begins on the 1st. Okay. That's enough from me. Let's see if there's anything in the chat that should be addressed, would be nice to be addressed.
I did not see anything. Beth put in a lot.
saw a
Oh, here we
couple.
go from Paul.
Yeah, I
We're
saw
in the
some.
Pacific where in the Pacific Northwest, including Clallam County, would you film, and to what extent would you use local actors and other local residents?
Well, ideally, we're shooting all the on-site locations here in Clallam County, whether it's houses, out in the woods, out in the forest, because I feel like we have a lot of those locations are available here. There's a horse training environment. One of the guys is a horse trainer, and that's where several scenes happen. There's some houses that are going to look rural, late 60s. There's some town streets and a couple of bars that I think we can work out here. There may be some crowd scenes that we would go into an auditorium and shoot some crowd scenes. So I'm trying to imagine shooting most of our actual location filming here in Clallam County, and to use as many actors. We have an incredible resource of actors here. I'm kind of amazed at how many theaters there are and how many people are acting and putting on plays. So we tap into that resource, and ideally for the production side as well. I know, let's say, Zoe Omega, who was going to be on the call, has already been working with us as working with the social media. We have Silas Cruz, who I've been talking to. I'm sure a bunch of you know Silas Cruz. He's everywhere. He's omnipresent in this county, and he can do just about anything, really. So Silas, I'm talking to him about being a location manager, because he's had an interest in developing a Clallam County film office for years, and this would be sort of a nice reason to get out there and get a database of locations, photographs, resources, etc.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, Mark. Like when you think of the purpose of LTAC and things like that, like there's a story in the story where you see the ferry coming in. You interview people that live here. That I promise you'll have a whole bunch of people that will tell you how many times they saw Bigfoot. So there's definitely a crowd that's going to support it, I'll bet. And but being able to have lots of those scenes that are unique to our area, the spit and things like that, I'm sure you can probably work in things that just make people go, gosh, I want to go there.
Yes. I think the beauty is uncomparable around here.
Mm-hmm.
And so ideally we play that up as much as possible. So it'll be known as the place where they filmed that movie, that incredible movie that became this overnight success. Like, well, we got to go there.
Yeah.
So there's another question from Jason Fitzgerald. I am curious if there are incentives and other kinds of support for animated production. So, potentially with Washington Filmworks, they do support different types of film production, but I don't know if that includes animation, because what Washington Filmworks is all about, based on how the legislature funded it, was trying to create economic impact for our state. And so trying to have some competitive leverage with filmmakers to spend that money in Washington State. So given that animation could be done just about anywhere, I don't know. I can certainly I'll find the contact information for Washington Filmworks, and I'll put it in the chat, Jason. I get regular emails from them.
And Jason, my impression is that It really wouldn't matter. Let's say you have an animated project, you could apply to the small budget production incentive because you're making a film. And so the animation, there's the animators, which may be you or people you know, if they're Washington residents, then you have Washington residents making a film. That's what they want to see. And then you have all the other aspects of it, which is the voices and the music and the legal and all all the other components of a budget. That still their concentration is if the budget is going to be making a film here, telling a story
Mhm.
in Washington State. That's something I think would qualify under their small
Interesting.
budget production incentive.
Yeah, because I work in stop motion animation. Think of Leica films. Um, and I'm trying to build an animation presence here on the peninsula. And the thing about stop motion animation is that it takes forever. So it would mean crew, living here, bringing people and other types of crew to the area for the length of the production, which could, depending on, the scope of the film, could be 1 to 2 years at a minimum.
Yes, I like I said, that even more so, in stop motion would put you more squarely in a human labor side of it that would be hands-on literally here. So, and Jason, maybe you can come down this summer, the first week in July. I'm teaching a stop motion animation camp to middle schoolers at the
Really, it's
college, at
amazing.
the community education part of the college. So if there's a way for us to connect, you may want to come down.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Could even volunteer we're looking for people to volunteer for, it's kind of afternoons, Monday through Thursday, the first week of July.
that sounds great.
I
Yeah,
just
all right.
put Vicky Berglund, Davenport, and Sherry Wyatt's contact information into the chat for you, Jason.
Great. Yeah. John's question about working with Northwest tribes. Not at this moment, but there's a person who teaches Indigenous studies at the college who I'm going to have read the material and consult on the project as we go. And she just got her tenure awarded up at the college. And unfortunately, I have difficulty pronouncing her name. But you know her, John? Okay, I'm not gonna mangle her name, but I'll just say that I've worked with her in my teaching adventures at the college, and I want to bring her in as a consultant on this whole thing.
In the recent canoe event here, you just saw a lot of Sasquatch stuff during that event. I don't know if you followed that a couple of months ago.
I remember
Wow.
the canoe event, but I wasn't that close enough to see what Sasquatch elements are. I know that it is a big element in the mythology, in the belief system of local Northwest tribes. And I tried to kind of weave that into the story by having a couple of scenes where the tribal people essentially take one of the main characters, Bob, who actually has Native American blood in himself. Okay, so part of the story is that Bob is part Native American. So Roger got Bob to play the native. They put him in Native American costume and like a headdress for these road shows. And that's something in the story that we have Bob getting disgusted by and essentially leaving the road show because he felt the whole thing didn't play with him. So that comes on the heels of a group of people from the native tribes up here who take them and essentially they give them a little lesson about Sasquatch and how sacred that character is in their tradition, and that what they were doing was essentially disrespectful to the native people and their beliefs. And so that sort of in some way in the story precipitates Bob stepping back from the whole thing, from the whole road show. So kind of found a way to weave that into the story in an organic way. I mean, I made that up, but it felt like, oh, that's something that could happen and would make sense and would bring forth the whole idea that that's a very important sacred character to the tribal people, and that these guys were essentially out there exploiting it
Got it.
with a potentially make-believe story.
That is a great idea, the idea of bringing in the mystical aspect of Northwest tribes, such as with the Lower Elwha tribe and their myth of their belief in the sleeping lady, that sort of thing. This thing has wheels, especially the ability to bring prosperity into our area, not only for this film, but the great thing about if we can get a film filmed here, or movie filmed here, then it acts as a catalyst for other movies being filmed here. So if one happens, the rest will happen. I mean, it'll flow. It just shows us to be a place, not Canada, not Portland, that has so much to offer. In other words, your movie can act as a seed, as a PR effort on our part, as you know, we tried valiantly, Colleen, myself, others, in trying to attract the movie Boys in the Boat here, and all the way, all even up to the point of my visiting the owners of the film in Dallas to try to convince them that this is the only place that you want to film this, because we'd be pissed off if you actually filmed it in England, which they did. But the aspect of this acting not only as an entertainment value and a showcase for our area, it also becomes a cool documentary that the Seattle International Film Festival would easily want to pick up, and other film festivals. So I see that, the idea that money gets spent here, money gets earned here, and it's like, also it's similar to the Rainier Beer documentary. I was in several Rainier Beer commercials, as Paul Gottlieb knows, and it's good to see your name up here, Paul, and Harmony. But in that Rainier Beer documentary, that's being spread all over the state. And it's a great PR effort, mostly for Rainier and the Northwest. But this would really showcase the Northwest. And I see your competence, Mark. I'm very, very impressed with how thorough this presentation is.
Thank you, Mac. Thank you, Mac.
It's well done.
And thank you, Betsy, for bringing in McGeezy Migwan's name. That was the name I didn't want to
Butcher.
garble.
Yeah.
Who heads up Indigenous Studies at the college.
Right. Okay.
Well,
does anyone have any last thoughts or additional questions for Mark? It is an exciting project, and got some fundraising to do at this point. So if anybody has any interest directly or knows of someone that may be interested in this, please reach out to Mark. He did have his email there, and you might want to put it in the chat one more time. Please reach out to Mark. It is a fun, exciting project for. So John Temple asked, "What are the upsides of investing?" That's a good question.
Here's my email. I'll make sure I got it right. Alchemy88. What are the upsides of investing? You mean in terms of beyond revenue, the return on it, the cash return on investment, John? Is that what you're insinuating, or just strictly on a cash?
I think so. And then also, if you people that invest more than 50,000, I think you said, Mark, would get executive producer credits.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, and I never knew what's the difference between a producer and an executive producer. And I learned after I met with Mark I've always wondered that. Complete novice with anything film related. But so I guess it's if you invest X amount, you get to be on the credits as an executive producer.
Well, the executive producer can be a very wide net that sort of would put people to attain that credit. It could be people who connected the film to a particular director or cast member that made it happen. People are sort of vital to the genesis of the project, brought from resource together. So often it's the people with the money or who created the pathway to the money, but it's also often people who bring in particular unique resources. The producers generally are the ones making the film. They had the idea or they acquired the idea. They developed it in terms of putting together the package and the director and the cast, et cetera. And then they're going to actually execute the production of the film. So that's a subtle difference. It's not always super clear, but that's a subtle difference. And I'll just say that, around here in the world of the entertainment industry, those are coveted credits. And that's something that people negotiate hard for, is to be able to get an executive producer credit or a producer credit. And you sort of move up the food chain in terms of your impact or your influence on the film as to how hefty of a credit you're going to get, because that's what people use to move forward and sort of further their career or their business plan.
See, Harmony has her hand raised.
Harmony.
Thank you. What an exciting project. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the recording because I missed part of it due to cell service. But looking forward to staying informed. If there are people that are interested in just staying connected, are you gonna keep some sort of social media presence with updates on how the film project is going, or some sort of mailing list? And how can people join?
The social media is the best, and that's where on our website, I'm going to bring it up again. I'm just going to share it with the QR code, which goes to, on the website, we have a contact form. Well, there's an email that goes to Eric. There is our link to our social media, which is launching on Seed and Spark, June 1st. There's our Facebook and Instagram icons. I'll go over to the website, stop the share, go to the site. The best thing is through the social media.
Great. Yeah, I figured you'd already covered it, but wanted to ask just in case. Thank you so much. What an exciting project. I look forward to watching it unfold and all of the good things it will bring for Clallam County. Thank you so much.
Okay. There may have been another question in here.
Yeah, I think we didn't finish. What are the benefits of investing? So if you invest at a $10,000 level or any amount, then as I recall your explanation, Mark, you said that any profits would be split 50-50 between investors and the producers.
Right. That's the idea. So
yes,
more specifically on the question, can more than the 10,000? Oh, yes. The idea is that you will exceed your $10,000, exceed your investment, and hopefully many times over. I put a projection in there of 100 to 200% return on investment. It could exceed that, or could not. It's a little bit of a crapshoot. We don't know, but I would say this one's got a pretty good odds of getting an audience out there, getting into distribution. But ideally, it's all steered towards, yes, everybody gets whole and gets a nice return on their investment. I see something here that says the QR code is deactivated. That's unfortunate. Eric's not here. He's the one working with that, so maybe he can figure that out.
And then Paul asked, could you talk more about the role of AI?
Yes, I'm just going to put the link to the website in the chat since the QR code is deactivated. Okay. The role of AI. Um, so we've just kind of reached this for an interesting threshold, and for a lot of people, it's like AI. I mean, we know what's happening. It's probably one of the biggest conversations in our world. What's going on with that? What's the impact going to have on human life, on jobs, on who are the money made on AI? Where is that going to? There's a whole lot of big questions that kind of ripple through the AI conversation. In terms of filmmaking, it's a huge impact because it has reached a threshold where it's enabled, as you've probably seen online, because people are flashing these things up there, it's getting impossible to delineate, to distinguish between what is real and what's AI in video. So that's potentially very dangerous for society at large, in terms of what's truth or not. That's a wider question. But in filmmaking, it really threatens, it opens up the portals to independent filmmakers like us, creating entirely, elaborate worlds without all the millions of dollars. But for the people who work for those, on those crafts that create those environments, those costumes, those sets, that's jeopardizing their jobs, their whole the entire careers that people would be looking towards. So I don't know, I'm getting into all different questions, but for us, it opens up unique possibilities to take those environments and put our actors in them and be able to make this thing look like a multi-million-dollar movie for, like I say, 300,000. That was impossible before this point in time. We've been compositing actors with unique worlds, Star Wars, etc. But those are kind of computer generated, very labor intensive, hand painted, environments that go on, that the backgrounds that you've been compositing actors on. Now you just say what you want and the AI creates it. And no, I don't like this part, or making him a little bit of he's wearing a black hat, not a white hat. And then there it is. And then, so we're going to employ all that technology to not only pre-visualize the film so we can see it all beforehand. So when we go to make the film, we're like, bang, bang, we know every shot. But here's the environments we already know we're putting our actors into.
Yeah. So it's really disruptive in some positive ways for independent filmmakers, but then also some very negative ways for the existing structure, primarily, I guess, in California, that, relies on their non-AI methods. So, but yeah, interesting. It's complex.
It's very disruptive to the filmmaking world. Yes. And it's way beyond California because there's a lot of economies that have been now built on productions coming there, like in Canada, in Georgia.
Vancouver. Yeah, Georgia. Yep.
This has huge impact on entire economies.
Yeah. All right. Well, it is 9:00. So I think we're going to call it a morning. Thank you so much, Mark, for coming and sharing your creativity and your Bigfoot Enterprises movie. We're excited that Clallam County could potentially be a part of that. And so again, if you have any questions of Mark, please reach out to him at his website. And have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Colleen and the EDC and everybody who came in today.
Great.
Congratulations, Mark.
Thanks,
really
Mark.
inspiring.
All right.
And the recording will be up on the website later today that you can share. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.